afraid of what the news is that they've just been given about their child, about what's wrong with their child. And they got to have somebody who, without sugarcoating or whitewashing the news, can be a comfort and an advisor and a friend, as well as a competent deliverer of health care. And that is who Ralph is. I don't think Ralph talks like a political science guy. To me, he reminds me of a pediatrician. He reminds me of my brother a little bit, who's got that compassionate connection with people because he's been with them at their lowest moments and had to provide some hope to them. Now, what is the biggest domestic issue that we are grappling with in the United States right now? It is whether we can have a humane healthcare system, the greatest nation, the richest nation on earth, whether we can have a humane healthcare system that can provide health for everybody. Would there be a better person who could stand at the head of a state and advocate for the right solution to our healthcare problems than a guy who has spent his whole life doing that, in especially dealing with families of young kids who have serious health conditions? I toured Children's Hospital with Ralph about 2 weeks ago, and when we were together with Ralph, I could see the way people interacted with him. But I was also at the same hospital 2 weeks before when Ralph wasn't with me. And I heard what they were saying about Ralph when he wasn't with me. Sometimes people will be a little more candid. And they're, maybe they might be a little embarrassed to make his head swell and say things about him when he's right there. But when he wasn't there, what people were telling me about Ralph. And I've seen this before. And when I was governor, I called on Ralph when I wanted to get rid of smoking in restaurants and bars, and Ralph was a freshman senator. When you have something big you want to do, you usually don't ask the freshman. You usually go to somebody who's been there a while, committee chair, somebody who knows the ropes and knows how to play the angles. But I said, I want to go to a doctor because I think a doctor is going to help me get this over the goal line in the capital of tobacco. And Ralph carried that bill as a freshman, and we banned smoking in restaurants and bars because of his work. So, and then as lieutenant governor, what he's done again and again, stood up for values that we're proud of. As a senator and lieutenant governor, when the Republicans were trying to push a just brutally harsh, oppressive, stupid, stereotypical bill that would have forced women to undergo a very invasive procedure to exercise constitutional rights, they had muddied it all up in euphemistic language so people weren't exactly clear on what this transvaginal ultrasound procedure was. It was Dr. Ralph Northam on the floor of the Senate said, hey folks, let me tell you what this means. Let me tell you what the proponents of this bill want to submit women to as a price for exercising constitutional rights. And had Ralph not been there and been able to make it plain, as a doctor, we might have gone down a very, very different path. And that's whether it's support for women's rights or support for health or support for LGBT equality or standing up for gun safety in the state where the NRA has its headquarters. An awful lot of people, in politics, and this is sad, it's in Virginia and I see it in the Senate too. I saw it when we were voting on reasonable gun safety measures in the aftermath of the shooting in Connecticut, And even with that, we couldn't get people on board. They're afraid of the NRA. They don't want to stand up, even though I think they understand what the right policies are. They know that gun owners and NRA members support background record checks, but they won't stand up against them. Ralph's like, I'm a doctor. I know what's right. I know what we have to do to protect people's safety, though being consistent with constitutional rights. I'm going to stand up for meaningful gun safety. A lot of people won't do that, especially in a state with the NRA HQ here in Fairfax County. But this guy, I'll tell you about this guy. He appears pretty mellow. Don't tussle with him on a matter of principle. Can I give you a piece of advice? Do not tussle with Ralph Northam on a matter of principle. When he decides on something as a matter of principle, you're not going to budge him 1 centimeter. Now, this guy, he is a very, let's work across the aisle, and I'm going to listen to you, and can we work something out? But then if you get into a principle, he's got no reverse gear. This guy has no reverse gear. He's not going to back up on a matter of principle. So he's somebody who is very, very well equipped to be a very good governor. But the challenge for him, the challenge for us, is we're in an off year. let's face it, we Dems, we do pretty well in presidential years. You know, we're turning out strong. But in the off years, this year, next year, when I'm up for re-election in a midterm, we often don't show so strong. And especially in June primaries, second Tuesday in June, I mean, that's not the time people are normally thinking about voting. So this is going to be potentially a low turnout race, and the key to it will be turning out and encouraging others. And the fact that there's so many of you here who I know are really revved up tells me that I think we're going to do well. But let's not take anything for granted. Now to the event. And our timing is perfect.
Hey, how you doing, baby? Good to see you, man. Hello. Governor, how you doing, buddy? You guys all fired up? Say
Well, I just wanted, you all know Governor Terry, right? Yeah. My guy. I just wanted to welcome you here to our house. Ron's standing back there in the crowd.
Cheer for Ron.
Hey, Ron.
My first real knowledge of Ralph Northam. I got a telephone call, and this was when he was running to be our lieutenant governor. And I answered the phone not knowing who he was. And he said hi and told me who he was, and he wanted to know my concerns. And I think the Connecticut thing had sort of happened around that time. And I said, gun control, gun safety issues. He said, I'm right on with that. I don't worry about the NRA, and told me how involved he was with that. First politician in the state of Virginia that I talked with who didn't nuance that. In some little way about guns for hunting or something. Ralph was right on with that issue, and I have adored him ever since. And I also know about the vaginal probe and all those things that he helped us with. And I'm so happy you all came out for these gentlemen because they are wonderful.
Okay, great. Well, morning, everybody.
Morning.
It's like this every day in Virginia, folks. Beautiful day. Got a hurricane in Maryland, a typhoon down in North Carolina. But let me just say, you've heard a lot today. This is all about governance. That's what I talk about every single day. Many of you, I want to say thank you. It was 4 years ago you helped me break a 44-year trend. Whoever wins the White House, the other party wins the governor's mansion. And because of you, you were able to elect me as the 72nd governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Yeah. Thank you. And working with our great senator, the greatest senator that's ever. Yeah, but he's not here. We'll see him at the next one. I may have a different speech, but right now he's the best we've ever had. But I just want to say this about Ralph. Listen, we have had a great team with Ralph and Mark Herring. You think of this state. We are a different state than we were 3.5 years ago. You all know the issues. We came into office, we'd gotten whacked on sequestration, we'd lost lots of jobs, people were fleeing the state, they passed some horrible onerous legislation against women, LGBT, laws that would have hurt our environment to put more guns on the street and rolled back voting rights. 3.5 years later, we stand here today and you think of the accomplishments that our team, that we have had. You look at the economy, 5.4 unemployment, we took office. Today, 3.8, second lowest of any major state in the United States of America. 200,000 new jobs, $16 billion, a record amount of new capital investment in this state. And by the time we leave office, we're going to hit 20. The most it's ever been done is 13. But what does that mean? The announcement I made like yesterday, Amazon, 1,500 new jobs coming to the Commonwealth of Virginia. You should have stood with Ralph and I when we moved Nestle Corporation, the largest consumer product company in the globe, left California. Where'd they come? To Virginia, folks. That's what this is about. The #1 state for cybersecurity. More cybersecurity companies than any state in the United States of America. More data centers than any state in America. We're leading America on the autonomous vehicles. As you know, I just opened the first runway on Wallops Island, 3,000 foot. And as you know, I was the first governor to go up in an unmanned drone the other day, and it works. No pilot, a robot, me and a laptop. And I hit the button, take off, go left, right, and I hit the land, and it landed. And here I am. And then, Friday I jumped out of an airplane, at 10,000 feet for our wounded warriors. We have loved this team, we have loved what we have done for this state, but we are a different state. I signed 3,786 bills, but as you know, we led the country, led Virginia. I have vetoed more pieces of legislation than any governor in the history of the Commonwealth. And the only reason I say that, folks, is, listen, I told the legislature, don't send me bills that would hurt women. Don't send me bills that would discriminate against LGBT members. Don't send me bills that would hurt our environment, put more. I said it, but they kept sending them to me. And this is the key point of this election, folks. Those bills passed and came to my desk. Bills that would allowed more machine guns on the street, HB 2-like bills that came to my desk. I just vetoed, stood with Ralph, a bill that would have defunded Planned Parenthood. Thousands of women rely on Planned Parenthood for critical health services. What kind of message is that to women who majority of the workforce? It's not. We vetoed that, and I want to thank the legislatures. You know, give the legislature. I see Mark right there. But this is important. 67 Republicans out of 100 in our House of Delegates. If they get 67 votes, they override my veto. And because of our Democrats in our legislature, 120 to 0, never overridden. Thank you, Mark. And that's why we need Ralph. Because we got to have a continuation. $1 billion in education last year, the single largest investment in Virginia history. Working very closely with the greatest Secretary of Education in the history of Virginia, Ann Holton. I said that, yeah. All right. Redesigning our high schools. We've transformed transportation. It's worked. That's all I'm telling you. This is about governance. People talk about what they want to do. Folks, he has done it. We don't have to talk about it. Ralph Northam has been there with Mark Herring and myself to take Virginia to the next level. We cannot go back, and we cannot allow them, when redistricting comes up in 2021, to send us a horrible map. One person stops it. That will be the 73rd governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Ralph Northam. They got me doing 8 rounds.
All right. Well, we're going to, for anybody that hasn't already signed in, I'm going to ask you to do that. If you already received your packet, you're welcome to go out on the doors, but you're also welcome to mingle for a couple minutes with these fine gentlemen. And any questions?
Come over to me, we're going to train you.
There you go. That's Hannah.
Today's the last day for absentee.